Yes, that music. That means it's time for some good stuff right here in KRUU-ville. Welcome to City Business with City Councilman Michael Halley. We're going to be talking about the latest haps at City Hall. My name is James Moore. This is solar-powered KRUU-FM and FMC. We are pleased to bring you, the latest goings-on. Speaking of which, it's the latest goings-on man himself, Michael Halley. What's up?
All right, this is a review of the February 24th regular City Council meeting. And most of our action items this time were wastewater related. We're kind of getting into phase one of these wastewater updates. Something that wasn't on the agenda that we added was an update from Burbach Aquatics. That's the company the city's contracted to do the new pool. So we got an update that I guess it's really a lot of it's pending on this county vote on March 4th. So the project currently stands at $3 million from the city voters said yes to, another 4 something in private contributions. But to really move ahead, we need to get closer to the 10 million, a little over 10 million total. We have a CAT grant, but that won't be decided for a while. There's that's community attraction and tourism. We've asked for 1.8 million. Likely won't get that because that's most of their pot for the year, but we'll get something hopefully from them. And then the county can vote. Anybody who lives in the unincorporated area in Jefferson County, meaning not in one of the cities, but in the space between the cities, can vote on March 4th.
How many people is that roughly? Any idea?
I think it's about
a couple thousand maybe?
It's more like 5 something, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a good group of people. They can vote anytime, but March 4th is the day of the vote. So you can vote early if you want at the courthouse. So basically, cities contributing 3, and so the county, since it's a smaller population, I think it is about 5, it's about half the population. We're only asking, or the task force is only asking 1 million. I should say the supervisor, since they were the ones who authorized it. And theirs is handled a little differently. It's not a property tax increase. It just comes out of their local options sales and service tax that's currently going to property tax relief. So it's kind of a reverse. It's not an increase. It's just less relief for a period of time until that 10 million is paid off. But there would be no interest on that. It wouldn't be a loan. If you take out a loan, obviously you pay interest. This would just be coming from a revenue source that they get every year.
Gotcha.
One argument I've heard is most of the local option sales tax that Jefferson County enjoys is produced in Fairfield. So to invest it back into amenities for Fairfield would be good. Also, it grows. Having things that can bring in outside people grow your local option sales tax. That's a wise investment for that. And county residents currently pay the same price to use city facilities. So if a county resident wants to come use the park and rec or the pool, they pay the same as the city. But city residents, we get to pay operational expenses also. So we pay twice in a sense. We pay the budget through our property taxes and such, while county people don't have to pay that, but they still get the same amenities. So we're, in a lot of ways, this is a fair ask. I'm not going to plug it too much. I'm a city councilman. I want to speak on behalf of the county, but if you feel like you want to support the project, go out and vote yes. If you don't, just stay home and watch TV.
And that's a Tuesday, of course, right?
Oh, yeah. It's Tuesday, March 4th.
So
all day long, or any time before then. But that will be the deadline. I mean, you can go and vote early, absentee. It's interesting. You can do absentee in person. Does that make any sense? Kind of an oxymoron.
Well, it's absentee because it's the day of the vote kind of thing.
Yeah, so you're voting.
It's absent the actual day.
But you can do it live in person.
But it is a good point. People are thinking more and more of voting days as sort of the deadline rather than the day. That's a little bit of a shift. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's good because that's how voting should be. You should be allowed to vote when it's convenient for you, not just that day. So it actually helps people if you're going to be out of town on March 4th, or you might be too busy and not make it around. You can vote anytime before then. But March 4th, I said we're marching forth as one community.
There's actually a March 4th brass band, I think.
Oh, yeah. We should invite them down and play. All right, moving along. Well, the thing is, we can't really move forward on the pool. It's like, I don't want it to sound like strong-arming, like county voters, you must vote yes, or else we can't move forward. But that's kind of the reality. We really can't move forward.
Well, of course, we can't do that as a public station.
Yeah.
With the FCC, get involved with any particular type of action.
Yeah.
And I know you're wearing your hat as a guest, not as a host.
Yep.
So
I'm just a guest. I'm just talking here. No big deal. Anyway, we really want to move forward on the project, actually start this spring, and get that pool open.
It's a great
before summer of 2015. I mean, that's the goal. So enough on that.
Mm-hmm.
All these action items I'm looking at, if I go through them one by one in the order they are, it might not make a lot of sense. So maybe I'll talk big picture and then put the piece of the puzzle in. But
sounds good.
As many people have been aware for some time, both the conveyance system, meaning the pipes themselves that carry our wastewater to our wastewater plant, and the wastewater plant itself are subpar. They're not doing their job well, and it's just basically a matter of deferred maintenance over the years. In the past, other councils, maybe in the 70s, had this problem in the 80s and felt like, well, it's an expensive project we don't want to take on right now. Well, we got to the point where we have to take it on. There's no option. The Iowa DNR is working closely with the city, and it's about ending what's called sanitary sewer overflows, where untreated waste, usually diluted by rainwater, but still untreated, flows out into the environment, into, say, Crow Creek, for example. Actually, they happen all over town during heavy rain events. And it's illegal. The city could be fined, but instead the DNR is working with us, and we're further along than ever in a plan to fix this. We're going to upgrade both the conveyance system, which are the pipes, and make upgrades at the plant itself to bring it into the 21st century. It's expensive, and most of the funds to pay for it are coming from raising the sewer rates, which they just went up 20% end of last year. And it's tough when someone's at a fixed income or low income and a necessary expense just jumps up.
That's a pretty big jump.
Yeah, it is. And the schedule calls for some 10% increases in the future. Now, by doing it step by step, hopefully, say, funds are raised, more funds than you predicted, and expenses are lower, then maybe those other raises aren't as necessary. So you do them in steps and evaluate along the way. But we're talking tens of millions of dollars of work to bring the system in compliance with Iowa law. So we're beginning phase one. Phase one involves the conveyance system, which are the pipes leading from the wastewater plant to around Lamson Woods. That's where, I wish I had a map, but everything kind of drains towards Lamson Woods. Everything flows, all the wastewater pipes flow that direction. And then a large artery, you could say, a big pipe that's carrying a lot of material, then goes under some farmlands, under Highway 34 to our wastewater plant. And that is the point of a lot of bottlenecking, where there's just too much material. And a lot of the problem isn't actual wastewater, it's rainwater getting in, which is another issue. Rainwater doesn't belong in the wastewater system, but it gets in there. So you need bigger pipes to handle that flow. And then upgrades at the plant, you need another retention pond. So what we have now are ponds where if the flow is too much for the plant to manage, they take some of the water they get and they put it in these lagoons, and then they treat it as they can. So if it's too much coming in that they can't treat, you put it there. When the rain stops, you start to treat it as you can. And so we need another one. So we're needing to purchase some land directly west of the plant. Most likely that's the plan the city's going to move on. And there's some property owners who will be affected. It's not anything anyone wants to do, to take someone's, to buy someone's land, but law says if necessary, a governmental body can do that. So what you want to do is make it an amicable agreement. You know, you get an appraisal for the value, and then you try to find another property of equal value or build something, or, you know, there's different options. But we're moving ahead. So I'll just go down the list of things that are part of that.
By the way, I just want to remind listeners, you're listening to City Business. This is James Moore with Michael Halley, 4th Ward Councilman, and we're catching you up every Tuesday lunchtime, Thursday dinner time, 6:30 p.m., and the following Monday at 6:30 a.m. Opposite week, then we have our state representative, Kurt Hansen, filling us in on state business. So, we do what we can to keep you plugged in.
Yep. All right, so first we started with a public hearing. We've already had several, but just one more time, a public hearing to hear from anyone who would have a say in which side of the treatment plant this lagoon will go on, north side, west side. Our McClure Engineering, our consultants in this, recommended the west because it's significantly less expensive, the soil's better for a lagoon, et cetera, et cetera. So the council approved the treatment plant facility plan that put the lagoon on the west. We approved the conveyance facility plan that called for some new easements, but essentially redoing the pipe work from around Lamson Wood to the plant. We approved 3 Iowa DNR intended use application for wastewater treatment plant improvements, intended use plan application for wastewater treatment plant improvement flow equalization basin, and intended use plan application for conveyance. So these are legal things that you have to basically...
Say that 7 times.
I couldn't. You have to apply for the DNR. This is the plan, and they have to approve it before you can do it. So all little steps. Now, another part of this that's interesting is we're borrowing a lot of money, millions of dollars, from a state revolving fund. Recently, the state has instituted a program where instead of paying interest, they allow you to use the same amount that you would pay in interest for stormwater projects. So for us, that's a couple $100,000. Actually, it might be more than that. I think it's about $1 million that we can spend in that. So one thing we did was accepted a contract with Pathfinders to work on a Crow Creek watershed assessment. Crow Creek's that little creek that runs through campus, down around by Chautauqua, and actually goes right next to the water plant. So in heavy rain events, it can get washed away, and that erosion can cause problems. So we're going to use some of this funds to look into building little lagoons right off of the Crow Creek in different places in town. MUM might be one of them, and some farmland where during those rain events, if you have a lagoon that the extra water can be channeled into, again, it's the same kind of concept as the lagoons at the wastewater. It sits there, and then as it can flow out as time allows, and that would cut down on erosion. And also, we're looking at working with the Jefferson County Soil and Water Conservation District, similar projects. We're looking at some permeable pavement parking lots, probably for the new gym and pool, where when the rainwater comes down, instead of being the water can't get through and it runs off, and that can cause problems, you use this type of paving that the water can get through. So it could be concrete pavers with space between, so the rainwater comes down and then it can get back into the groundwater. And these kind of projects are...
Did they do that for the convention center?
There was kind of an afterthought to try to
Later.
put a little permeable portion. So there's one section of brick, and then we also thought about channeling the water into some kind of a rain garden on the south side. So you see a little low patch of certain types of plants. That's a little rain garden for the water that comes off the parking lot to go into. It wasn't... I mean, these will be designed this way. That was kind of an afterthought.
Gotcha.
But so some good things are coming, but a lot of work. And as the mayor said, this has been on the agenda for so long. He's like, it's exciting, but it's a little bit scary to be, jumping into these millions of dollar projects. But a lot of good things will come of it. Mostly no longer discharging raw sewage into the environment.
Well, let's just say it's not one of those sexiest of projects, because when it works, it's something that doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. You just don't notice. And
but
that's how it should
critical
be.
Not thing happening
Yep.
when you think about it.
All right, some other things real quickly. We set a public hearing for our fiscal year 14-15 budget. That'll be our next council meeting, March 10th at 7. The Ways and Means Committee works hard every year in January and February coming up with the budget. Our fiscal year is July 1st through June 30th. So this is for the one that would start in July 1st this year. And it's a lot of puzzle pieces. It's just so much to wrap your head around, all the possible ways to use funds and try to save funds and so on and so forth. So they've worked really hard on that. And we'll unveil the budget at our March 10th meeting. We also entered an agreement with French Rent-A-Car to do the engineering for the upgrade at 12th in Burlington. I remember I talked about that, putting in some tinted concrete walkways, a left turn lane when you're coming west, and some pedestrian lights so that pedestrians standing there press the button, get the light to change for them. So increasing.
Do those things really work?
They're supposed to. Have you gone up and pressed one and nothing happened? Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah.
I thought it was just something like a placebo.
No, they actually are supposed to affect the light at some point.
I'm not trying to be cynical.
All right, and then my little pet project, the new tree ordinance. I'll hit upon this because I know we don't have a lot of time today, but when we discovered the EAB infestation, emerald ash borer, and knew that our urban forest was about to take a major hit, as well as the oak trees we lost in Chautauqua, it became clear that the city needs to act in order to protect and maintain a healthy urban forest. The urban trees don't plant themselves. It's not like nature. You don't just find them propping up here and there. They have to be planted and they have to be cared for, and it has to be done intentionally. So years ago, there was a tree enhancement board that kind of fizzled out. And so we've reformed. Now it's the Arbor Committee, Fairfield Arbor Committee. They are working, and they've pretty much finished developing a comprehensive tree plan that talks about proper tree care and what types of species we'll plant and what are the appropriate size for different locations in the right-of-way, for example. So it mostly deals with public trees, mostly in the right-of-way, somewhat in the parks. This ordinance that I worked with the DNR to produce deals with not public but also private trees. So one thing that we included was specific to the EAB issue. We're banning, and it's not law yet. After 2 more readings, it will become law. Granular and soil drenching. It's a type of insecticidal treatment that you can buy over the counter. We're not banning the sale of it within town. We're banning the use of it on any property. Essentially, the DNR says it's indiscriminate insecticide. So it doesn't just kill emerald ash borer, kills bees. There's already a decline of bee population. We need bees to pollinate our crops, so that's not good. It can kill birds, squirrels, other insects. Anything you pour in the soil can eventually get into groundwater. So an arborist at this EAB conference I went to in Burlington said, why would we poison our environment to try to save trees from something that's going to kill them anyway? And that's exactly the truth. You cannot save an ash tree forever. At some point, the emerald ash borer will get in there. And so this is something I think we might be one of the first or the first Iowa community to do this, to actually ban these chemicals. But I have a gentleman who works for the city of a city up north who is very curious and wants to see our ordinance when it's ready. I was invited to speak in Johnston, Iowa in April to speak about smaller communities, how smaller communities can deal with EAB, communities that don't have full-time arborists, that don't have a big budget. So I think this is going to be a model ordinance that other communities are going to follow, I hope, for the sake of wildlife everywhere and water quality everywhere. Now, this doesn't ban injection treatments. Those are different. Those are done by qualified, trained personnel, and the insecticide goes into the tree, so there's less damage. We also ban tree topping, which is a bad practice where you cut the top of a tree. It's very damaging, can end up killing the tree or just stunting its growth for the rest of its life. And so we'll make sure our city crews no longer do that, and also the Alliant crews that come through and trim around the power lines. We also added language to protect what's called heritage trees. This is another best practice that many communities are doing. These are private property trees, but if there are certain species, oak or hickory, walnut, maple, or American elm, and they're 30-inch diameter at breast high, which is a measurement, certain height off the ground, 30-inch diameter, and they're in good health, this clause would protect them, meaning a property owner, even on private property, could not indiscriminately cut it down without first coming to the city and getting permission. And it just basically sends the message that we as a community value trees, even on private property, that would be extremely hard to replace. You cannot replant a tree and get anything like a 30-inch thick, healthy specimen like that. It takes decades. So we're adding a protection clause. And like I said, many other communities have already done this. So it's a much more progressive, inclusive tree ordinance. It's not meant to be heavy-handed or to add rules and regulations for no reason. We just want to protect our urban forest and make sure we've got the right trees in the right place and protect our environment from indiscriminate insecticides and all that. So it's a good ordinance, and passed from the first reading to the second unanimously. So I'm expecting the next two readings to go the same.
Well, great. A lot of work on that. And certainly we love to have the tree areas that we've had maintained and even expanded. I suppose some property owners might have a flinching about their property being told what to do, but I also don't think many would ever consider cutting a tree.
Exactly.
Like
most people would value those kind of trees. And the thing is, there are the reasons that someone could take it down are pretty inclusive, and so if they had good reason, it'd be okay. It's not that they'd be forced not to. Roger. It's just it gives a moment to pause, reflect, and to say, okay, this tree is of value to the community. Does it need to come down? Could it stay? So it's more that than the city banning someone, or you cannot cut that tree down. We will not let you. I don't imagine a situation like that ever arising.
Well, great. You know what? We're out of time for today. I'm actually teaching at MUM Radio Broadcasting. Go figure. So I rushed out from class. I'm on my way back, but always good to see you, Michael Halley. Thank you, FMC, for dropping by. This is James Moore. You've been listening to solar-powered KRUU-FM City Business, catching you up on the latest haps from City Hall, and there's going to be a lot more in 2 weeks. I can guarantee that. A lot of good things coming down as we're speaking, and I wish we had another minute, because I know there's some interesting things that are going on. 175th celebration of Jefferson County. We'll get to that in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And of course, Fairfest. Yep. Looks like Los Lobos is going to be the headlining act, folks. You're hearing it here for the first time. Going to be big, big news. So we want everybody involved in that one. Celebrate all things Fairfield, then celebrate all things Jefferson County. Art walk before that. A little bit of all things Italian. A little bit of vintage power wagon. Damn, ladies and gentlemen, it's Fairfield. Speaking of which, we're out of here. City Business, James Moore. Stay tuned. Coming back at you Thursday, 6:30 p.m. and Monday at 6:30 a.m. Keep it tuned right here to Solar Powered KRUU-FM.